Okay. Well, welcome back to Point Blank. We've been talking with Dr. Bala Usman, a reader in history at ABU, an administrator, though he doesn't do administrative jobs. He's also an articulate and radical teacher. Well, on this second segment, Bala, we go on to the issues you have been talking about structurally. I think we come to the question of constitution, yes, which is an area that actually you have been very active in. I know that when the Constitution was drawn sometime, I think it was 1979 Constitution, yes, you had the special privilege of being a member. And during that period, you also, in collaboration with, I think it's Shegun Osheba, yes, you wrote a minority report, yes, which didn't agree with the general view. Now, we are back with another Constitution. Do you think your minority report is still valid? Has it been overtaken by events? Do you have any strong point about this new Constitution? Do you think we are doing the right thing about Constitution?
I think the 79 Constitution, which we questioned in a number of aspects in our minority report, has, I think, proved that it is the most workable in our circumstances. And I'm glad that it has largely been adopted in the 1999 Constitution. The main point about our minority report was the question of the concentration of wealth in a few hands, and therefore the concentration of power. That still has not been addressed. But my own experience in politics and in government, because I operated the 79 Constitution as Secretary to the government of Kaduna State, my own experience is that that is not an issue which can address constitutionally, except at a very general level in terms of fundamental rights. And I think some of them are already there. It's an issue which has to be addressed politically. So I feel that we wanted to put into the Constitution provisions which could only be put in by political parties, trade unions, and other organizations. We wanted an administration in which would be like the United States. 1% own 50% of the wealth. And you can vote every year, you are wasting your time. Now, it's even more serious now because the government is committed to privatization under both domestic and external pressure. You are going to find a situation in which this privatization is going to go into very few hands. 60% of Nigerians are living below the poverty line. The other 40%, hardly 5% can afford to buy any shares, honestly. If they buy any shares, they don't know what to do with them. Now, this 5%, among them, 1% will probably be the major shareholder with foreigners. If you sell all these public enterprises, as they want to do, which I think people should oppose, not in general, but for the key ones, you are going to end up with a situation in which 1% of Nigerians own NEPA or NITEL or NNPC with foreigners, and they own almost every other thing. That means, and of course water, because the idea of privatizing water, some people even say prisons, then you have no democracy. You can be elected governor or president, but all you do is to regulate this. In fact, you cannot even be elected unless they nominate you. We've seen the role of money in the last election. We've seen the role of money in the PDP convention. If you go ahead with this, so that issue of concentrating on wealth, undermining democracy is still relevant. But I don't think it's an issue which can be fought just constitutionally. It's a political issue. It is something which people have to fight through political parties, trade union, professional organizations, and others, women organizations, so that we refuse to accept this situation in which we just have the right to go and cast vote for one or two groups of plutocrats. This is what's happening in the Russian Federation. This is what's happening in the United States of America. The American people may be getting a good economy, but they really are not in a better position to choose their government than the people are in Russia or even in China, because the people own everything. A very few. And these are people who even most of those is inherited. Bill Gates is a freak. This boy who made billions is recent. Most wealth is inherited. They own in America, it's even worse. They own the land. You see, you are a governor of, let's say, Edo State. Somebody owns, I've been told that there's a general who owns 1/3 of a local Arab land in one local government. Now, that would be a chicken feed compared with what's likely to happen if we continue with this line. So what you are saying is that the government should commercialize its enterprises. In some areas, it should get out. But key enterprises to commercialize and then allow foreign and domestic capital to compete. So when I'm governor, or you are governor, we are local government chairman, you have some control on the economy to can help people. Take electricity. Access to electricity in Kaduna State is 16.6%. In Lagos, it's 75%. In Ogun, it's about 60%. Now, are you telling me that somebody is going to buy NEPA and supply electricity to people in Katsina, which they need to develop themselves, or water? More than that, the governor of Katsina State or of Edo State or of Ogun State will be powerless. He will be not only a product of these plutocrats who will know how they made their money, but he will also not even be able to do anything. So we will not have democracy. Let's be very clear about that. We are going to rule by a very few moneyed rich and their children and their grandchildren, who are probably going to be more decadent. So that issue we raise in the minority party there. But as for the constitution as it is, I think it is a mistake to rush into amending it by the government at the highest level. I think members of the National Assembly, members of the State Assembly, and even private Nigerian citizens can initiate an amendment. But the operators of the Constitution, who have just been sworn in to uphold it, I think should operate it first to see, because you just bought a car, you started even a second-hand car, then you start overhauling it before you even know why its weaknesses are. Take, for example, this Lagos State House of Assembly. They said they reject the 1990 Constitution. They are jokers. If they reject the 1990 Constitution, they should resign. Because they are not there by virtue of being a Fere or OPC. They are there by virtue of the 1999 Constitution. So if you want to change the Constitution, they should initiate the process. Why I call Obasanjo to call a sovereign national conference? Why should Obasanjo do what the French have made everybody do in the rest of Africa, which has just wasted time? So the Constitution, I believe, there are areas of amendment. Every country keeps amending its Constitution. But we're priorities. And the priority now is the life of Nigerians, our living conditions of our workers. These strikes are not jokes. Teachers are on strike, academics are on strike, others are on strike. And if you flood the country with food, farmers are going to go on strike. Because if they're going to sell their bag of maize at 700 naira, they're not going to produce any maize. So the point is that we have to tackle this issue, tackle the issue of water supply. A few weeks ago, people were dying of cholera in Kaduna State. The state government jacked up the price of water. They are dying of cholera like flies. And now this World Bank stuff is tied up with that. So what I'm saying is that the first priority of government is to tackle the issue of the living conditions of Nigerians, the security of their lives first, of course, and that of their living conditions. In the course of that, we'll see problems in the Constitution. Then we'll tackle that. But not to go into any large-scale constitutional review. I think that's a waste of time.
Thank you, Bala. I look at somebody like you with all your intellect, and the first thing that occurs to me really is that there is need to take people like you on. All these things you've said now, they're very brilliant ideas, which anybody in government should try to implement. But people like you are never in government because you have not been able to draw a difference between reality and principles. You keep going to PROP, MDJ, parties that will not win. And so you will not be in government to implement all these brilliant ideas. What are you doing in such parties?
But it's wrong. I think your historical facts are wrong. I've been in government. I was secretary to the government of Kaduna State. I was member of one of those who set up the PRP, which won Kano and Kaduna states. Population about 15 million. We were responsible for state governments with population larger than most African countries for 4 years. And we did programs which people see.
Actually, I'm talking about the federal government.
Well, at the federal level, I was a member of the secretary of the strategic committee of the SDP under the chairmanship of Chuba Okadibo. I worked very closely with the late Chief Abiola on his economic program. I told him this poverty alleviation will not do, and we're working on that when they announced the whole thing. I was very close to, we joined the SDP. One of the closest colleagues was Senate President Ayu, Dr. Ayu, the President Minister of Industry. We worked very closely with Ayu. Ayu initiated many moves. For example, he initiated a summit between the NRC and the SDP, at which we were going to sign a pact, which anyone who wins will support. And we worked very closely with that. He was very annoyed with me over that. He even sent for me, said, what sort of thing is that? Why are you an elder now? I said, no, the Senate President is trying to save this problem. We met, but some of these people, I don't want to mention names, some of them are dead, sabotaged it. See, we worked very closely with MKO. We told MKO, we wrote him memos that you have no business declaring yourself. I saw MKO so many times, letters to me. We're very close. Even late Kodiratu, she comes to my house. A fantastic lady. I visit her when her husband was in jail. It was only when these tribal goons took over that we backed out. It was a national issue. MKO belonged to Nigeria. And with a government in place But when these characters from Egbeomo Odudwa came in, MKO never belonged to them. It was NCNC. Then we backed out. Because then it's no longer progressive, it's no longer for the future of Nigeria, of Africa, and the African diaspora. It is simply an attempt to save political tendency, which MKO's election showed has failed. See, MKO's election showed that you can beat Tofa in Dawakin Tofa. You can beat Tofa in Gandung Albasa. MKO can do it. Shehu can beat Jakande in Lagos. But this Egbeomo Odudwa crowd, this Afenefere, are scared of that. Because that finishes them. So I have been in government.
Okay.
Let me be clear. And even military governments, I've been asked for advice. I've been delegate to this is Timo. I was a member of the Nigerian delegation to the General Assembly of the United States in 1976. I went back in 86. No, let me clear about this. When I talk, I don't talk of theory. We've been in government, we've implemented programs. Go to Kaduna State. Go and ask them about the government of Balarabe Musa. Go to Kano. Go and ask them about Rimi. So I'm not talking theory, I'm talking practice. Right now, I'm in MDJ. We're going to give this PDP a tough time. See, we're going to give them a tough time, but we're short of resources, but we don't believe in shortcuts. Those who made shortcuts and joined PDP, now they see. But it's going to be worse. These goons with money are going to mess them up.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the point is very well made, and I think we are quite refreshed about your role in the Kaduna State government.
And in the SDP, yes. And with MKO.
Yeah. Yes. I'm trying to talk about the Kaduna State government because I know that you must have been accused here and there, somewhere, of extremism. People think you are an extremist, and it probably explains why your government collapsed. That's why Balarabe Musa was impeached, and you were secretary to that government. Did you do anything during that period to prevent impeachment?
Again, your history is wrong. The government of Balarabe Musa did not collapse. Balarabe Musa did not have a government. There was a PRP government. Balarabe Musa did not even want to be the candidate for governorship. He wanted to be party chairman. But he made it conditional that unless we can mobilize enough intellectuals and professionals to come in, how can he run the government? Because he knows MBN will sabotage him. So people convinced Balarabe, given his integrity and his capacity to be the governor. But we were there at the formation of the PRP. So when the PRP was in place, it was a PRP government. When MPN wanted to make it an MPN-PRP government, we refused because we had programs. We were not going to concede on the abolition of Haraji. We were not. We were not going to concede on examination of land transactions. All this talk of Sharia now, the issue is the extent to which the Muslim peasant is deprived of his land, of his livelihood, living in one room with 10 children, with toilets served by 100 people, washing himself and bathing with water with fees. We address those issues. Give them plots. They are seizing their plots. So we did Land Investigation Commission. We proposed 14 industries. The Kaduna State government is trying to complete them all. The Kaduna State has completed some of them. We did a lot of things. That continued under Abba. In fact, I served Abba longer than Balarabe as secretary to government. I was with Balarabe as secretary to government from November 80 to June 1981. I was with Abba from June 81 to August 1982. So the government did not collapse. The program continued. In fact, the whole idea that Balarabe was the government is not true. Balarabe would not even accept that. The program of the PRP in the most basic areas was not reversed. What was reversed is there was more cordial relationship with the MPN. And I left office because I did not want to be secretary to government. I was tired of this administration. I was quite prepared to come in and write papers and policy, but I can't go on in just pushing files all the time. And partly because also Abba was much too close to MPN for my liking. And I felt as governor, I should not oppose him, given our relationship in the past and given how cordial it has been. So it is wrong. Anybody, even governments now are compared to our governments. Look, I'm embarrassed when I go anywhere in Kaduna State. They'll say, you people did this, you people did that, you people did fertilizer, everything. And we continue doing it up to 1983. Even when there was division, when Abba joined NPP and we were in the PRP, we still agreed to continue with the program. So our government did not collapse. We were impeached. We knew it was coming. They wanted a fight. MPN was provoking us. They said we should come out in the street and fight. We said, no, we're not going to fight in the streets. They brought about 10 mobile squads to Kaduna. At that time, I was very busy finishing the white paper on the Land Investigation Commission in Funtua. The police wrote a report that I was training guerrillas in Funtua Dam. So they wanted an excuse to kill our people. We said, no, this fight is not for us. It's a long fight. if we bring our people now, you kill the best of them. Go ahead and impeach Bala. It's on principle. When you investigate him, you didn't find him fault of anything. It's simply that Bala was not prepared to do what you did and to give you money. When Abba agreed to give them money, the military jailed him for 50 years. Didn't they? And Bala was exempted. So who won? Abba conceded to them. He took money from the government and gave it to the MPN. When Buhari took over, they sent him to jail. Bala refused. So Bala is the one who has come out on top, and the PRP has come out on top.
Well, politically, it will appear that you have parted ways with Balarabe.
Well, we're not in the same party, but we've not parted ways because we're still in the same direction. As I've explained, he's in the PRP, I'm in the MDG. But the PRP and MDG are very close. Only the PRP is more explicitly committed to a socialist Nigeria, while the MDJ is much more social democratic. Okay. So we have been discussing, MDJ and PRP leaders have been discussing and working out how to get other parties to take on this, because there is no opposition in the country now. So it's possible we'll come together again. I didn't join politics to work with Balarabe or to work with any individual. I joined politics because we agreed on certain things. When there are differences, you respect the differences and go, but you don't go back and say, because you're with somebody, you stay with him forever. This affair type of stuff.
I see. Well, I look at you, from this program, anybody who didn't know you were radical will know. What I do not know is you appear to be a radical of a kind. You appear to be on your own class. The radical that does not go to jail in Nigeria. What strategy have you been using? Your colleagues are usually arrested and detained.
I don't seek to go to jail. I don't seek to go to jail. I've been jailed. I was secretary to the Kaduna State government. I was jailed in Kano. I was locked up. Tell me when secretary to the government was locked up in this country.
Only once. You were locked up only once.
I was locked up for 1 day. They couldn't do it because they charged me with having a poster. The police were being used with the judges to oppress our people. So some boys in Kano, Sule Abu of The Guardian and Sumaila, were distributing a poster which we did jointly. So they arrested them. Okay. So they sent for me. I went there. They said, who is responsible for this poster? I said, I am responsible. They said, I've committed sedition. I said, let's go to court. So they locked me up in Kaduna for 1 day in my own state where I was secretary to the government. I don't court prison. But if I do things which will go to prison, fine. I think it's a matter of how you do your politics. The other thing, maybe the difference is also that I am sort of engaged in, I put more emphasis in organizing people to fight. So when people want to take us on, many times in ABU, the authorities wanted to throw us out. But it's not easy. When you have people behind you, organize people who are prepared to stand up, not to fight physically, but to keep pressure to fight. But if you do a low ranger type of thing, or you quote going to jail, it's a political style. Some people like doing it. I don't. But I certainly do not back out of my position because of the threats of going to jail or of death.
Okay. Well, will it be true to say that you were not too critical of the IBB days? Will it be true?
Well, who said IBB is going to succeed himself? I'm the only one. Even my friends in the PRP thought, Balarabe thought I was going too far. I said, General Ibrahim Babangida will be succeeded by Alhaji Ibrahim Babangida. I said so. As far back as I think it's 1987. It's there on record. I'm very close to Babangida. He's my senior at school, and we have very good personal relations. But once he introduced SAP, once Wale Shoinka, Aboyade, Mabogunje, Falae, all these characters who ended up fighting military dictatorship later came and got Babangida. Because when he came in, he saw our book, Economic Crisis. He called me. We know each other very well for almost 40 years. He called me. I gave him the book. He said he's interested. Before we know what we're doing, Babangida has sold out to these sub-chaps. Aboyade came, Babogunje, Falae, Wale brought his car. The IMF was very happy. Margaret Thatcher was fitting him. And I told him, SAP will not work because our economy simply does not require this sort of structural adjustment. It is wrong. And we attacked SAP. We attacked his IMF positions. And we maintain personal relations. Babangida is like that. So it's not a question of maintaining cordial relations. And he knew there was nothing he didn't do to get me involved in this type of thing. I refused. I said, look, the only thing I agreed was when Angola was the 10th anniversary of the admission of Angola into the UN, I went as special advisor in 1986. Even General Abacha, I supported Aluko a lot on his fight, what Aluko did for this country. People don't know. He saved this $7 billion, which people are saying was squandered under Abdul Salam. It was largely the influence of Aluko and a few others. And I supported him with Abacha. Don't go for this IMF law. Don't go for IMF law. So in that case, I had relations with both IBB and Abacha.
Okay, thank you. Just before we go, because I know we're almost
Yes.
well, that time is up. I have this information that you belong to the royal family of Katsina. Is it true?
Yes, of course.
And notwithstanding that, you are so critical of the traditional institution.
I'm not critical of traditional institutions. I'm saying that people have refused to allow these institutions to continue to do what they are supposed to do. The institutions of the Emirate were developed by Malams, who are supposed to be learned men who uphold what is right and say what is wrong. But they've turned them into institutions of the same thing that shows Usman for the opposed. So I believe that my position is more consistent with our own background than the position of those who turn to this institution into institutions of oppression. See, you read the writings of Sheikh Usman Danfodio, you read the writings of Muhammad Bello, you read the writings of Abdullah Danfodio or Al-Magili. The institutions are supposed to be institutions which serve people, not institutions which oppress people and dominate and frighten them with big turbans, with this and that. There are something Malamite teachers. Malam Sheikh, Malam Bello, Malam Abdullah. So I feel I'm more consistent. But I'm not. What I'm saying also is that for this institution to remain relevant, they have to go back to that tradition, not insist on being the constitution, and actually or make a lot of money and riding horses and all over the place. As I've done for you said, they should go back to this and serve people, and they can do it, but they are not prepared to. And they say we're telling them to go and read these books and do what they are supposed to do. So I feel I'm more consistent with the background of the Emirates aristocracy I come from. They are the ones who are not doing what they are supposed to do, not me.
Thank you very much, Bala. It's been 15 minutes of useful discussions with you, and I know that we've not disappointed our viewers. We expected a very hot program, and I think it has been so. Bala Usman, reader in history at Ahmadu Bello University, has been talking to us about history, the academic, and politics. He has drawn attention to what he calls the priorities of the Nigerian nation. It is on that note that we come to the end of tonight's edition of Blank. This same time next week, we'll bring you another guest on the program. Good night.